for their non-regularization of employment and non-payment of salaries and the emoluments station staff of Niger State Power Holding Company, Niger Delta Power Holding Company, Sapele Power Station, Delta State. They have been holding them since 2017, and they seek the intervention of this honorable house for their reimbursement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I have your permission to lay the petition?
Yes, Honorable Oluga, please lay your petition. Any other petition? Honorable Shino.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Shino Bella. I represent the people of Iseyin, Itesiwaju, Iwajowa Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Oyo State. I represent one of the largest constituencies in Nigeria. I stand as the voice of the common man at the Federal House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, today I have a petition from my constituents, especially from Kajola and Iwajowa local government, on the need for rehabilitation and reconstruction of Okeo.
Petition.
Yes, on the Okeo, Igono Road. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, it is very, very important that once I lay this petition, I want to beg you, Mr. Speaker, to mandate the committee on petition to treat it as a matter of urgency, because I have a pictorial evidence attached to this petition that shows that they have rocks that are falling on the road and completely stop the commuters to ply that road. And this is really, really affecting the lives of my people. They are in pain and agony. So, Mr. Speaker, I plead with you that may I lead this petition, please.
Okay, so this is a new one. You want your petition to be treated as a matter of urgent public importance by the Committee on Petitions.
No, Mr. Speaker, not a matter of urgent public importance, but it is a matter of urgency, because the life of my people are in pain. They are going through a lot of hardship. They cannot ply that road at all. They cannot take their perishable farming produce out of that place. And they have about 90 people that signed this petition. And if you see the picture that is attached to this petition, you understand what I'm talking about, Mr. Speaker. Please.
Yes, Honorable, voice of the voiceless. You can lay your petition.
Long.
Honorable Vincent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues. My name is Vincent Ekene Ofumelo, member representing the most natural people of Oyi and Ayamen Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move this petition. I have a petition on behalf of my constituents by name PTE Titus Ongmere, who is the staff of Nigeria Army, who was wrongfully and unofficially discharged and has not been paid salary since 2001 up to date. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, may I lay this petition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues.
You may lay your petition.
Thank you. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Any other petition? Who's there? Who has a petition? Okay, so we move on to motion of urgent public importance. Honorable, your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Gideon Gani. I come from Kaduna State and I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 8, Rule 4 of the House Rules, Matters of Urgent Public Importance. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the motion I want to sponsor has to do with the allegations of corruption, which is hinged on breach, and it is hinged on impunity and infractions by some federal government institutions, and indeed with some individuals who have carried out bad practices on insurance and actuarial matters, which calls for the need to ensure probity. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the allegations on this matter appear to suggest that Nigeria is losing billions of naira at the end of every lifespan of an insurance policy. These losses are caused by these federal government agencies and, of course, these individuals who have carried out practices that have led to the squandering of insurance premiums. This has also led to the siphoning of Nigerians' money to abroad, thereby creating room for money laundering. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, because of these corrupt practices, it is important that we interrogate this allegation. And so, Mr. Speaker, I beg honorable colleagues to please see this matter as urgent and important so that I can take this motion today and now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Williams.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Idem Unyime, member representing Ukanafun, Orowanam Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion moved by my colleague. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Once again, my name is Honorable Gideon Gwani. I come from Kaduna State and I represent Kaura Federal Constituency. Like I had earlier mentioned, Mr. Speaker, there is an allegation that is corruption provided for under Section 88 of the 1999 Constitution to investigate allegations of corrupt practices in the insurance sector of the Nigerian economy. Now, the allegations, like I had earlier mentioned, is because some of the federal government agencies. Okay, the motion is. Thank you for the correction. Okay, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I hereby move that the need to investigate into the breaches, impunity, and other infractions of some federal government institutions on insurance and actuarial matters and the need to ensure probity. The House notes Section 88, subsection 1 and 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and also the mandate of the Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters as provided by Order 18, Rule 55 of the House Standing Order, which provides for oversight of insurance companies that takes cover on government properties, ensuring diligence and adequate insurance policies covering all federal government properties and agencies, and review of their annual budget estimates. These institutions are currently renewing their insurance with suspected existing breaches of insurance companies, which will put Nigeria and Nigerian populace at serious economic and social disadvantage. Hence, Nigeria will lose billions of naira, thereby worsening the political and social disequilibrium the nation is currently facing. Aware that the low retention capacity of dollar-dominated business in Nigeria has direct influence on low human and financial capacity in the Nigerian insurance industry. This has created room for massive cessions and retrocessions of insurance businesses outside Nigeria. Consequently, not fully exhausting the capacity of Nigerian insurance industry by giving only all registered insurance and reinsurance companies in Nigeria the right of first refusal depletes Nigeria's foreign reserve. Also aware that this practice of domiciling some of the insurance ventures outside the country tremendously promote money laundering, illicit financial flows to the tune of several billions of naira in the insurance sector. For instance, international oil companies through NAPIMS, Nigerian Satellite Communications Limited, on the insurance of Naj Comstar, Satya, are all suspected to be in breach of the various laws. Further aware that several billions of naira are suspected to be paid as premium annually on either non-existent assets or on unverifiable data with unadjusted premium in breach of Section 61 of Insurance Act 2003 by some federal government institutions, which include, but not limited to, Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, National Youth Service Corps, some security agencies in collaboration with insurance companies that do not pay claims. Worried that the ineffective regulation of foreign placements of insurances has made it impossible of the Nigerian insurance industry to contribute meaningfully to the gross domestic product of Nigeria today. Less than 0.5% contribution to the country's gross domestic product as against 2.8% in the United States of America. Nigerians' foreign reserve is highly depleted due to unchecked huge retrocessions of business, because each business placed abroad amounts to importation of service that has direct impact on our foreign reserve. Billions of naira are suspected to have been lost by the nation through insurances of moribund assets, through insurances of non-existent assets, through insurances of overvalued assets and high premium rates. Most importantly, the poor handling of the group life insurance schemes of this organization has brought untold hardship to the families of our fellow countrymen who laid down their lives serving their fatherland because they are not paid their entitlements of their breadwinners. When paid at all, unallowed deductions are made, thereby shortchanging them. Concerned that there are huge unsettled life claims in Nigeria due to the fact the premium meant for these payments was suspected to have been squandered by some insurance companies and few individuals, and it's only forensic auditor will bring this to the fore. So the House do resolves. Mandate the House Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters to conduct investigation hearing involving all relevant stakeholders. To conduct investigate involving all relevant stakeholders to identify any breaches and ascertain the veracity of the suspected infractions by the aforementioned institutions. to suspend all the 2020 insurance renewal process of some of these institutions till satisfactory resolutions of all suspected infractions. 3, mandate the House Committee on Insurance and Actuarial Matters to engage a forensic auditing to ascertain the level of misapplication of premium. Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Honorable Ikiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
This power on these two agencies, and they're supposed to be there in at the point where these goods are coming. Mr. Speaker, we have visited the port, and in visiting the port, we discovered that the only thing that makes delay of goods out from the port is custom themselves, because the custom have rejected scanning machine. Now, once a scanning machine is installed in our port, it is easy. It is practically easy to access it within a very short period of time, and other sister agencies in a collaborative manner. Other sister agencies in a collaborative manner. We enhance efficiency, we enhance to protect Nigerians by making sure that the standard organizations you gauge it effectively. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleague, I urge
Honorable colleagues, this column is very, very loud.
Mr. Speaker, what I said from the beginning and in rounding up is that the instrument of the law created the essence of executive order. So a executive order is no more superior than the act of parliament. It is on this ground that the National Assembly will have initiated and passed the act of parliament that created these agencies should also be up and doing in protecting that which they have created. You cannot create a sun and destroy a sun. That's what my issues are. And if the clear point is that the National Assembly has passed those laws, the law must be respected, and is higher than executive order. I so submit.
What Honorable Toby has read, Honorable Toby, what you have read is the provision you have read does not give Standard Organization of Nigeria the right to remain. Hold on a second, please. Hold on a second, Honorable Toby. I just wanted to clarify something, since I wasn't following the debate. What you have read, and I listened to you carefully, that Standard Organization of Nigeria has a right to access at reasonable times, and that they can even force their way in. Now, access is different from my understanding of what you read, is different from having a permanent site there. I just wanted to know what the debate, what the issues were. That's all. I'm just trying to clarify what the issues are. So there are two different things, but go ahead.
Properly guided, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Well, like I said, have they tried to have access and they were stopped? The answer is yes. Mr. Speaker, by a letter that was written, these agencies were asked to leave the ports. But it is also that in trying to cure one defect, you create another. Nobody will appreciate or sanction a situation where Nigerian citizens, their health situation is compromised, or the equipment or facilities we use in this country is compromised because goods are substandard. Nobody would want that. I also understand the constraint of the executive as at then that had to take these measures. These were because there were a lot of delays in the ports. There were a lot of challenges. But like one of the men who went for investigation, they have long discovered that the delays is not a matter of SON or NAFDAC, that there were other constraints. So the intention might be good, but we might be creating a situation that might work to the detriment of Nigerians. I have also listened to Honorable Faleke, who was the chairman customs. I appreciate the fact that he's fairly and quite knowledgeable about the operations there. Mr. Speaker, I agree with him. This should be within the domain of pre-shipment. What is necessary is for our officials to be properly located where these goods are emanating from. What will be the effect of having to bring in goods here, they inspect them, and they are found to be substandard? Maybe not by the mere fact of an importer intending to do so, but due to the fact that the manufacturer deliberately wanted to export bad products to Nigeria. So there is pre-shipment. And prior, if we allow it to arrive in Nigeria, it means we will suffer double jeopardy. First, the importer will lose money. Two, Nigerians' health will be compromised. And we don't want all these things littering, fairly bad products littering Nigeria, including drugs. So I understand the challenges. So for me, I think we have to take a decision by this parliament that is knowledge-based. We must be properly informed. We need to know, we need to be in the know on what actually is the situation now, where the imperfections are. And this is why I am supporting this motion, but I am also asking that the committees on commerce, the committees on customs, and other related committees do a thorough investigation of the modus operandi of what is happening actually in the ports now. By the time they submit their report to Parliament, Parliament would have taken full view and cognizance of the challenges we have and will come to a better judgment of what should be the right action to take.
And when you bring in goods and you want to inspect, it causes a lot of havoc. I'm amending that it should be a pre-shipment inspection. That standard organization, which they are currently doing it now, they have agents all over the world, which carries out this inspection. They should recertify them to be sure that they are doing the right thing and they are following the proper channel before goods are allowed to come into Nigeria. That's my amendment.
Honorable Toby, amendment.
This operating situation now and report back to the House within 3 weeks. I so move.
I so second. Toby.
Those in support of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment? Okay, go ahead. What's your amendment?
Is requesting that SONCAF should come to the port so that they can inspect goods before coming in. And my leader from Lagos State, Honorable James Faleke, also said that SONCAF should have agencies across the world to inspect goods before coming to Nigeria. I think we need to decide which one is more visible and which one is more doable. I think before coming in is a bit more visible because if you are shipping in something from Vietnam, I'm not sure SONCAF has, standard organization has representatives in Vietnam to monitor what's coming to Nigeria. Either or, I think we need to balance which one is more important to us and which one is more visible. And then on my amendment, again, I don't remember the prayers very well, but I remember while listening to it, I would suggest that the use of the word reconsider as opposed to rescind by the federal government should be used, because there are and why the government has made such decision I'm not aware of, we are not aware of, but obviously some things led to the federal government to have made or arrive at such a decision. So we cannot set aside why that decision was made. So we have to also, they have to consider that and then consider additional reasons being raised by the minority leader before coming to this conclusion. And then on the second prayer again, it also said that the word without further delay
Those in support of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of the motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it.
National importance, and it has to do with the diaspora matter that's recently rearing its head. There has been a recent attack on Nigerian traders at Circle Market in Ghana. May I proceed, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable colleagues, Honorable Akode Shadipe has moved a motion of urgent public importance regarding Nigerians being attacked in Ghana, Nigerian traders, and has been seconded by Honorable Jaha Babao. Those in support of the motion that this is urgent enough, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
And to collaborate with the Nigerian Diaspora Commission and the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to put in place, implement modalities to improve the welfare of Nigerians in diaspora. Recall that a few months ago, I raised my voice on the issue of xenophobia and urged that the federal government create additional airlifting opportunities to evacuate our citizens who are stranded in South Africa. Informed that Sunday, December 1, 2019, over 600 shops belonging to foreign traders, particularly Nigerians, at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Ghana, were locked up by members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Also informed that this is not the first time the quest to rid the Ghanaian market of foreign traders who are engaging in retail businesses has occurred. There was a case last month where Ghanaian traders at Opera Square in Accra 865 Article 27.
Please silence.
Article 27 and 28, which bars foreigners from doing retail business in Ghana. Further concerned that in 2018, the enforcement of the Quick Notice Initiative commenced, and it was properly communicated by the Ghanaian Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Ms. Shirley Ayokoboche, that this GIP law would not affect Nigerians or other ECOWAS citizens. However, the National Association of Nigerian Traders warned the minister that the law could spark xenophobic attacks from ignorant persons, but she assured the union that the Ghanaian government is ensuring that there's an understanding among Ghanaian traders that the Quick Notice Initiative has nothing to do with Nigerians and other ECOWAS traders, and that Nigerians should in no way interpret the issue as a future xenophobia against Nigerian traders. Aware that on December 2, 2019, the Ghanaian police, in a bid to control the mayhem, used firearms and fired shots to control the crowd. Some arrests were made and detainees are currently undergoing further investigations at the police headquarters. Be further aware that according to the president of Nigerian Union of Traders in Ghana, Mr. Chukwuemeka Levi Nanji, mentioned that Nigerian traders were physically attacked on December 2, 2019. The claim is that the Ghana Union of Traders Association used the Ghanaian police force to lock up the shops on the night of December 1, 2019. And when the Nigerian traders realized in the morning of December 2nd that their shops were locked up and decided to break the padlock, the Ghanaian traders were agitated and attacked the Nigerian traders. Concerned that these attacks on Nigerians could be as a result of President Muhammadu Buhari's declaration in August on the closure of all land borders in order to prevent illegal imports into our country, which is a good initiative in the bid to protect the economic sanity of our country, Nigeria. Note that the recent attacks have resulted in several injuries and arrests. However, the Ghanaian officials and police force have called on all traders to call off the forced closure and blockades in streets, believing that any clampdown could cause more havoc and strain the relationship with Nigeria. Resolved to mandate the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, alongside the Committee on Diaspora Matters and Committee on Foreign Affairs, to urgently consider and investigate the recent developments among traders in Ghana and act proactively to ensure that another xenophobia attack on Nigerians is prevented. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I spoke to a few people in Ghana who were able to substantiate the information that this is indeed going on, but before it escalates, we needed to take prompt action. There has been some videos also circulating on social media, which again I must reiterate, that we cannot rely on 100%, where we see limbs and heads of human beings.
Silence, please.
Recently,
Honorable Salame, resume your seat. Honorable Aminu Mani, resume your seat.
recently,
Honorable
chopped off
Manusoro,
human
resume your
bodies and
seat.
heads, which is a very gory sight, and the understanding is that is going on right now in Togo with regards to response to what was happening in Ghana, and this same attack has been against Nigerians. So I believe we need to, as a House, take very prompt action to ensure that this situation does not further degenerate and expose our Nigerians in the West African axis to further mayhem.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank our colleague for bringing forth this motion. In our place, they say, Kebidona Ogechidi, Wechua.
That's against our rules. Interpretation, please.
Thank you. They say you should pursue the black goat in the evening, in the afternoon, before it gets dark. Because if it gets dark, you will not be able to make any distinction.
That's all.
So what is happening in Ghana? What is happening in Ghana and what happened in South Africa is sufficient notice to Nigerians that something is wrong. Sometimes you begin to question what is wrong with our Africanness. Why can't we be our brothers' keepers? Mr. Speaker, if I'm protected from making my contribution, I will appreciate.
Chief Whip, please keep your house in order.
Resume your seat, please. Who is this? Honorable Chinyere, resume your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was saying that you begin to question what is wrong with our Africanness. We are, by various efforts, by our past leaders, by our leaders in government, through legislatures, the Deputy Speaker was supposed to go for ECOWAS Parliament. We know we have ECOWAS Treaty. We know we have OAU, where we are encouraging Africans to be together. But each and every day, each and every season, you find Africans being against one another. And this is not because people are doing anything illegal. It's because they are pursuing their legitimate ways of earning money in other countries. And I have not heard that here in Nigeria, at any point, that we have attacked any African. We open our doors. As a matter of fact, the executive and the legislature have also tried by all means to make business a lot easier for African brothers. As our last count, we signed a treaty that will make it possible for Africans to operate their businesses without any let or hindrance. There was some reluctance to do so by Nigeria, but at the end of the day, we signed. And look at what we are harvesting. When Nigerians go to practice or do their trade in any other African country, they become boots of attack. I don't know why that should happen. Other Africans are welcome here to canvass their trade. And they are legitimate. The Deputy Speaker, as he is going to represent us and is going for ECOWAS parliamentary session that is taking place now, it is important that he carries the weight of this parliament, our discomfort, our expression of dismay with regard to what is happening in Ghana. We should not allow it. Now, Ghana is just about 45 minutes from here by air. So why should we be against one another? I thought we have learned sufficient lessons from what happened in South Africa, Mr. Speaker. It's too close. It's too close for us to have that level of discomfort. It should not be allowed for any African, talk less of a neighbor. And we have a good number of Ghanaians here. They have never heard. Mr. Speaker, I got a letter from my constituents with regard to the attack. 2 Nigerians who were trading, they were living together in a rented apartment. And they had an issue with their landlady. The next thing is that they called the police, and the police came, had to jump the fence, and 2 of them were shot. And I had to go to the Diaspora Committee and the Diaspora Commission. They are currently investigating that matter. And this is what comes and meets Nigerians who are in various African countries. Even when you go to Europe or America, you don't have this kind of thing happen to you. Talk less of our African brothers. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe strongly that the motion should be supported, and this kind of practice should not be encouraged in any African country whatsoever, because right here in Nigeria, we don't do it. Thank you very much.
Decision to close our borders. Sir, in Nigeria, we are not stupid. We know the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. By blocking these borders, it may in one way or the other affect particularly our neighboring countries, whether we like it or not. And maybe this is an attempt to transfer the aggression of Nigeria's decision to close border on our indigents that are working in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world, legitimately. Mr. Speaker, we are aware some neighboring countries to Nigeria signing agreement with other advanced countries of the world for the importation of a product that is beyond their ability to consume. Let me give you an example. There is a country that has an agreement with another advanced country of the world to import rice. We all aware that this rice is targeted towards Nigeria. So that particular country will not be happy simply because we close our border to protect our economy, to encourage our farmers, to consolidate on our existing capacity. Then as a result of this, they may transfer aggression. So there is a need for this House to raise up to the reality by establishing a very strong committee, particularly the Foreign Affairs Committee, to engage these countries. Sir, secondly, I want to commend the mover of this motion. It happened in South Africa the other time. We remain mute. We thought we are giant of Africa. We should behave as elders by approaching the matter diplomatically. Sir, sometimes people can take advantage of your leniency. It's just like what they are saying now all over the House. You are the most lenient speaker all over the history of this chamber. So people take advantage of your leniency. Before you go to sit down, you spend time greeting members disturbing you from your house down here. So the truth of the matter is that sometimes countries can take advantage of our leniency, thinking we are giant of Africa, we have every reason to protect them, then they will keep on transferring aggression to our citizens in their countries. So, sir, we need to look at this thing. Today is Ghana. Tomorrow may be Benin Republic. The following day may be Togo. Anything can happen. So this is my position, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jaha. Honorable Henry, last speaker. I know Honorable Jaha was supposed to be the last speaker, but we'll take Honorable Henry and then we'll move on. I'm not going to be lenient on this one.
Who remembers in the 8th Assembly when the Right Honorable Speaker led a team to South Africa on this very issue of intolerance. My dear colleagues, it is insanity to do the same thing over and over again, and yet we hope to get a different result. It will not happen. This issue speaks to xenophobia. We need to call a spade a spade. And the problem and the fear is that the intolerance seems to be spreading. Mr. Speaker, you are aware of the recent efforts we have made to keep this issue on the front burner. As a country, we cannot afford to continually remain a sitting duck where we react to issues that border on the lives and security of our people, be it internally or outside the shores of this country. That is what we keep doing over and over again, and we think and hope that things will improve. They will not improve. Serious countries that take the issue of serious protection of life and property set up commissions. They set up bodies. They set up agencies. In the West, we have NATO. What does NATO do? NATO looks at security issues and protection issues. We are legislators, and I propose that we keep looking for legislative solutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think this country needs to set up a body that would be pan-African and will continually look at the issues of intolerance and cohabitation, be it within the country or outside. This is my proposal. I so submit. Thank you.
Please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. A tea or coffee break from 1 to 1:15 so that members can go to the mosque. 15-minute break, go to the mosque, stretch their legs, have their coffee break. But I think at this point, we only have roughly about a week to go before we close for the year. So I believe we will do this, we'll push it forward. When we resume next year, we can start this, we can start off with this. And besides, I think there will be a need to actually amend our rules because there are other provisions in the rules that may contradict that.
House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila reading out the figures appropriated for 2020 as contained in the report laid before plenary by the Chairman House Committee on Appropriation, Aliu Betara, for further legislative action.
The next business of the day will be the presentation of report of the Committee on Appropriations on a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 10,594,364,830 naira only, of which 560,470,827,235 naira only is for statutory transfers, 2,725,498,930,000 naira only is for debt service, 4,842,974,600,640 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,465,418,606,955 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for capital expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2020. Standing in the name of the Honorable Mukhtar Betara, honorable members will recall that the matter was referred to the committee on Thursday, October 10, 2019. The report is ready for presentation. Honorable Betara is invited to present the report.
Mukhtar Betara, investigation of circumstances of the alleged abscondment of 5 Nigerian soldiers of the Operation Harbin Kunama 3 with large amount of cash, HR 5017-219, to be led. I move, Mr. Honorable Speaker, sir.
Honorable Boma, please kindly second the motion.
very good morning or afternoon to all the members. Well, fortunately, I did not raise my hand, so I'll decline. But anyway, I second the motion moved by my friend. I'm from Asari Tarakoputori Federal Constituency. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Motion to lay reports by Honorable Suleiman Aminu, seconded by compulsion by Honorable Boma. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Aye. The ayes have it. Honorable Aminu, please lay your report. Honorable colleagues, the first order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the total sum of 232,875,365,947 naira only, of which the sum of 53,876,241,095 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 57,070,343,435 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 121,928,781,417 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year ending 31st December 2020. Standing in the name of the House Leader, honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 11th December 2019. I now invite the Leader of the House to move that the bill be now read a second time. Acting Leader.
Mr. Speaker and my distinguished colleagues, I am Comrade Peter Hyonzuja Patisin, MNI. I represent the great people of Akoko-Edo Federal Constituency. I am from Edo State. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to authorize the issue of, from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account, the total sum of 232,875,365,947 naira only, of which the sum of 53,876,241,095 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 57,343,445 naira only is for overhead costs, while balance of 121,928,781,470 naira only for capital projects for the service of the Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year commencing from 1st of January and ending on the 31st of December 2020 be read for the second time. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We have a seconder. Honorable J.J. Jimo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I remain Jima Ibrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency. I stand to second the motion as moved by the acting leader. Thank you.
Leader, you want to put some flesh on this, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I wish to briefly put some flesh to it, and thereafter I will yield the floor to the Deputy Chair, House Committee on FCT. Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, I thank you for the opportunity to lead the debate on the general principles of FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2020. The bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, the 11th of 29th, and the bill earmarked a total sum of 232,875,365,947 naira only for the recurrent and capital expenditure for FCT. The total summary of the recurrent stands at 110,946,584,530 naira only, with total personnel cost standing at 53,876,241,095 naira, and the total overhead cost stands at 57,070,343,435 naira, while total summary of capital expenditure stands at 121,895,859,016 naira only. This is meant essentially to ensure that the Federal Capital Territory aligns with what is happening across the Federation today, particularly as the National Assembly has expeditiously passed the bill, the federal bill, to move away from the old order to the January to December budget cycle. And it is focused essentially on the development of infrastructure, as you see in the subsequent pages. Highlight of the budget. FCDA is to get 30 billion for infrastructure development, while FCT secondary education UBEC, we get 12.48 billion. FCT Universal Basic Education Board, 17.523 billion. Satellite Towns Development Department, STDD, 33.73 billion. And in conclusion, the House of Representatives, towards achieving a legislative agenda, as we all have set out goals of the House Committee of FCT, it is now our collective responsibility to ensure that this bill scales through the second reading and is referred to the Committee on FCT for further legislative action. And mandate is to report to the House not later than next week, Thursday. This will enable the House to pass the FCT budget and return FCT to the January to December budget cycle. I therefore urge all to support the second reading of the bill. As I said earlier on, Mr. Speaker, at this point I would like to yield the floor to our colleague, Honorable Blessing, who is the Deputy Chair of FCT Committee, to add further elucidation to what we have presented.
Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Blessing Onyeche Onu, and I represent the good people of Otukpo Oyimini Federal Constituency I am from Benue State. On behalf of my chairman, the Chairman House Committee on FCT, who is unavoidably absent, Honorable Abdullah Galva, and for those of us who do not understand the workings of the FCT, Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I would briefly like to give you an insight on the operational framework of the Federal Capital Territory. May I continue, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, FCT has a dual role as a state and a ministry. It operates a parallel budget in the fiscal year. As a ministry, it operates the national priority budget. And as a state, it operates the FCT statutory budget. So this presentation dwells on the presentation of, the 2020 budget presentation, dwells on the statutory budget of the FCT for proposal, and we need to deliberate on it, also for our consideration. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you may also want to know that the FCT statutory budget is funded from 1% of the 52.68% of the Federation's accounts. So, and also FCT relies on its internally generated revenue and other sources for execution of their recurrent expenditure, that is the overhead and the personnel costs, and also their capital projects. So the parameters that form the FCT statutory budget proposal is in tandem with the federal government policy in the context of medium-term expenditure framework in line with economic recovery and growth plan and international public sector accounting standard. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I will not want to bore you with the figures as contained in the FCT 2020 budget proposal, as it has already been mentioned by our leader, Honorable Akpatasen. Honorable colleagues, note that the FCT is the landlord of Mr. President and each and every one of us here today, including our foreign partners who reside in the FCT. So passing this budget will address the issues on infrastructural development. It will provide social services, ensure youth empowerment, and address security challenges, including poverty and adequate sanitation, and so on. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, so with this, I would like to call on you, Mr. Speaker, and my dear distinguished honorable colleagues, to support this bill as it passed the second reading and refer to the Committee on FCT. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, honorable colleagues, as the Chief Whip and many others will bear me witness, we've had this thing in the House we call mutatis mutandis. And as we have been able to successfully return the national budget to the January-December cycle, we hope we'll get the FCT budget too, to January to December. However, we cannot do this and sacrifice thoroughness and strict and close scrutiny of the budget. So the FCT committee, you have your work cut out for you. You're going to be working all through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, because if possible, without sacrificing high scrutiny of the budget, we would like to pass this before we close on the 19th. And on that, the question is that the bill be now read a second time. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account, the total sum of 232,875,365,947 naira only, or with the sum of 53,876,241,005 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 57,070,343,405 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 121,928,781,407 naira only is for capital project for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the financial year ending 31st December 2020. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Federal Capital Territory and Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. Honorable colleagues, the second order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C-23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to make free, compulsory, and basic education a fundamental right of all citizens under Chapter 4, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 11 December, and I invite Honorable Gbajabiamila to move that the bill be read a second time. Honorable colleagues, if it pleases the House, may I please ask the Chief Whip to move this on my behalf. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Honorable Boma, I heard your voice. Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Martin Munguno, Nganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move for a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, Cap C-23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to make free, compulsory, and basic education a fundamental right to all citizens under Chapter 4, and for related matters, be read the second time. I so move.
Honorable Halims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Abdullah Ibrahim Ali Halims. I hereby second motion moved by the Chief Whip of the House that on behalf of Femi Gbajabiamila, Your Excellency, our right Speaker, that the bill be moved, bill be read for second reading.
Thank you, Honorable Halims. Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, first and foremost, I want to commend the Honorable Speaker for his foresight and vision for sponsoring this motion, sponsoring this bill, and at the same time to thank him most sincerely for allowing me to argue this motion on his behalf, having regard to the importance of the motion. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, this bill is apt and germane, having regard to our present situation all over the country, especially against the backdrop of the fact that we have millions of children that are roaming about our streets that are out of school, especially in the northern part of the country, where there are about 10 million children that are out of school. And when you go to the southeast, there is this challenge of male education. It is the girls that go to schools while the boys engage in business. Millions of the importance of education cannot be overemphasized. Order and good governance of the country, of the citizens. And education is one of the medium through which government can provide or afflict the welfare of the greatest number of the greatest people in the country. So this bill essentially seeks to bring education under Chapter 4 to make it justiciable. Because as it is now, education is under the directive principles of state policy, which is not justiciable. It's not actionable in court. You cannot hold government into account or take any tier of government to court saying that you have not gotten access to at least basic pre and compulsory education. But if this bill sees the light of the day and it is brought under the fundamental human rights chapter, that is Chapter 4, it is now justiciable and is actionable in court. Any citizen that, not as a result of his own omission or commission, feels that he has been deprived by an action of government from accessing pre-basic and compulsory education can go to court and enforce it as a fundamental human right. And there is need for us to do that so that education, at least the basic education, basic literacy and numeracy should be accessible to all Nigerians of school age. So that is the intent of the bill, and I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable J.J. Jimo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Jima Ibrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland, Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I want to first and foremost commend you for a well thought for this kind of bill to have been considered and presented to this House for consideration. Mr. Speaker, the issue of education is very, very important and necessary in our lives. Education is about light. Education is about knowledge. Education is about leadership. Education is about service. It's because you have been educated. It's because you have all what it takes. That's why you are there. There are so many number of us are here. Those that cannot read and write cannot be there by the power of our Constitution. For you to have thought that this is very important and necessary, to make it free, that's number one. The key word there, free, compulsory, basic education for our people. It is of necessity. And God will bless you for this, because it is a fundamental thing that has to take place in our lives. When you think of that, you are thinking of big investment. So those children unborn, because we have so many number of people who cannot read and write in this country, and it's not too good for us. By becoming this to be ineffective and make it a law and compulsory, it will help us. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Onyeka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable, I represent the good people of Ayaz, Ezin Federal Constituency, from Imo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for having it thought wise to move this very important bill. For me, free education is one of the most important tools that is very passionate in my heart, education and health. Mr. Speaker, honestly, in Nigeria, every citizen of this country require basic education. We all know the importance of education. Education is one of the tools for unlocking human potential. Education is also one of the tools for the development of any nation. So for you to have thought it wise to move this bill for free education in Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, I said I must congratulate you and also urge that my colleagues should support this bill. Mr. Speaker, we all know the importance of education. For any nation to move forward, it must make sure that it's Mr. Speaker, I guess because you're coming from Lagos State, that is why you know the importance of free education. And during the days of Dakonde, most of us who attended school in Lagos benefited from the free education system we had in Lagos. So I think if this bill sees the light of the day, it will benefit the citizens of every nation and the country at large. I am therefore calling on my colleagues to please support this bill so that it can go for third reading. Thank you.
Honorable Buba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to first of all commend you for sponsoring this very important bill. I think in this 21st century, we are supposed to, as a nation, been practicing free education or delivery.
You're watching live proceedings at the House of Representatives, coming to you on the largest TV network in Africa, the Nigerian Television Authority. House members are at the moment currently debating the general principles of a bill for an act that intends to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in order to make free compulsory basic education a fundamental right of all citizens. Before now, the lawmakers passed for second reading the statutory budget of the FCT for 2020. And this is where we come to the end of today's live telecast. We thank you for coming thus far with us. I am Lami Ali. We invite you to stay tuned as we get you back to the studio.
That it will be assented by Mr. President and put into use. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We'll take two here and two here. Honorable. Well, it looks like we might have to take three here, because once a leader puts up his hand, I don't have a choice. It's one of the privileges of leadership. Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I want to thank you so much for bringing forth this amendment to ensure that education takes the front burner as required in every society. I represent an area of Kogi River Federal Constituency, and I'm from Enugu State, Mr. Speaker. Last few days, I had an education program, and inscribed in the brochure is a quotation from Nelson Mandela, and he said, "It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor."